sorry about that, Draco. Thank you for pointing it out. I had turned off the microphone, because I was recording some replays for the Saturday video. And then I forgot to turn it back on before the start of the stream. It has been a busy morning. And by that, I just mean I massively overslept. So we are flying by the skin of our teeth. For example, we got the point battle room up, before I had even really gotten out of bed. And I've built the, character pack deck for later, within the last hour. Last week, I had already planned everything out, so, this week is probably gonna be a loss for me. But anyway, we have Infy Hearts in the room today. And they are a player with a gold icon. Or in other words, they have come in the top 10 of the Goha Rush Festival. So we definitely want to start out by seeing what they are playing. Magnum Overlord is a great choice. We're currently doing the next iteration of the tier list, and most of the players are putting Magnum Overlord at the top, even though it hasn't been winning all of the events. The addition of Buffered Slime and the removal of King's Majesty both help to make the deck's game plan more consistent than it was previously. So, even though we've been seeing Servant of Dawn, Noodles, Vebbles, and more at the top tables, Overlord has also been sneaking in to a ton of top 4s. Welcome, Manarchist, and good luck in the event, assuming you are playing. I actually didn't have the chance to check the room today. But we see Servant of Dawn buffing a Tough Striker. A lot of players are on one copy, though others are on Nekogal. In order to use Servant of Dawn, you need to have 5 normal monsters with 1500 defense. This will often be your Archering Soldier as a legend and low level, 3 of your 1 tribute monster, and then either a Nekogal or a Tough Striker, assuming you are on the Dragius build. Variants utilizing the dinosaur cards tend to keep all of the vanilla monsters as 1 tribute, running 3 King Rex, 3 Mega Zaller, 1 Flame Cerebrus, maybe 2, and an Archering Soldier. Oh, work Friday, so can't enter the point battle. We'll be watching and listening in the background. No problem. I hope work is going well for you. Alright, so we do see a Flame Cerebrus, but without a Dragius. They are not going to be able to push in for any additional damage. Infy is at 3,000, which is just short of the Magnum OTKs. Or it would be if that Gazelle wasn't on board. We get 2,000 damage from 35 at Magnum, 3,000 more, bringing it up to 5k, and then finishing off the job by boosting by 7 times 2. But it looks like Infy has yet to draw it, so all they can do is set to face down. A Servant of Dawn boost on the Tough Striker to 3,100, could potentially end the game. And they are going for it. Infi does have one face down card, and it is a recital, keeping them safe. But more importantly, Gazelle is no longer on board, so we'll have to see if Infi is able to find lethal. Of course, Talismanic Seal Ray could always make up the difference. 7,900. That is not enough. Infi has brought out a Magnum without getting the KO. And now there is no back row. And this Talismanic Seal Ray is almost certainly instantly ending the game. Overlord down to 1,500. And I'm pretty sure that is lethal on board. But we're adding in a Speedy Performer for good measure. Welcome, Chenyu. We see Infi go ahead and toss in the Concede. Looks like we also have Terra competing. They have been gone for a while over in Japan. Though they have been back, maybe around a week or two. So it is nice to see them playing in the battles again. I think the new noodles are pretty good. Probably not the best in the format, but you can definitely hit King of Games with them relatively easily. And they have taken down events. I'm pretty sure, Tomato might have a tournament win with it. Alright, so you see Terra is on Psychics. Probably putting them at a bit of a disadvantage here. Especially if a Shield and Sword is coming down. But we see a really awkward play. Shield and Sword is activated after the Light Sorcerer is summoned, and that means it gets no value. So, Terra goes from a board of 0 attack monsters to taking no damage. That is almost definitely going to cost them the game. Welcome, Tomato. We have just started, but so far, so good. Definitely see some new names I don't recognize. And we have a good amount of the returning players as well. I think we are at 18 or 19. So the Magnum Overlord player is definitely at a disadvantage here. But there is always the chance they simply will draw into the maximum. But they are not playing very defensively. Terra does not have any boss monster for the 7-Zone Magician. And so they're coming in, but what they really need is a Torna. We do see all three. No. We see 2 blues and 2 green in the graveyard. That Mystic Dealer. Terra could summon a 7 or a Prima and win the game at any time. Well, I guess they might need 100 more. This has quickly devolved into setting 3 and passing. But Terra now has 2 Roman pick. And is going to bring in an Esperade plus Prima Gotarna to end this game almost certainly. Interestingly, they do not use the Roman pick. They would have been able to put themselves down to 1,000 for the Esperade. But perhaps it doesn't matter. With 3 big monsters on board, that is going to be game. Psychic picks up a win. We get Draco versus whoever is Rush in Bio. I'm gonna go see if I can investigate and find out. It might be Colossalus. I believe Draco is a 7th Axel Road believer. And it is confirmed they are running it rather than the Magnum Overlord. Dragius falls. And 3900 is going to bring Bio down pretty low. Archive skill, presumably this is a Servant of Dawn deck. And the Flame Cerberus will confirm it. Losing out on a widespread rune from the Speed Reformer mill is definitely not what you want to see. But in either case, this is still a decent push. Unfortunately, I'm pretty sure another witch will end it here. Bringing in a magician is going to lead to a direct attack, and there are not nearly enough life points to tank that. Colossalus, I would think that because I searched the Discord for a Rush in Bio, and you are the only one with a result. Alright, and we see a concession. Alright, so Mobelli came in 3rd, but really 2nd in the last point battle, and came in 1st place during the point battle portion. So we'll see if they are able to repeat the performance and take the top tables in back-to-back events. It looks like they are on Noodles. I'm pretty sure last week they were on either Thunder or Magnum, but they have decided to start off with the reboot. Spice is going to boost up the Taste Inspector to 1500, guaranteeing it is able to destroy anything that was set there. LA is playing the Dragon's Inferno deck. At first, I was thinking it might have been an aggro pile, given the SL and Speed Reformer. But the Summon of Fire Guardian confirms it. With the Twin Edge Dragon tech, this might be Zidane. But with all of these weird in-game names, it can be hard to tell. Blasto's Inferno is going to add Dragon's Inferno back from the graveyard. Once again, destroying Mobelly's face-down card. Sword and Shield is obviously a fantastic option against a board including a Twin-Edged Dragon and a Fire Guardian. So losing out on that push is unfortunate. Volcano Attack Dragon, swinging in it to a 1200 defender. Probably not worth it over the face down, which was much more likely to have 0 defense, or at least under 1200. Mobelly stalling for time. Will there be another copy of Pierce to get through this? Or will Twin-Edged Dragon be able to find 2 low defense monsters? Unfortunately, Blasto's Inferno is only able to boost the Fire Dragons. Unlike Resonance, which boosts 2 monsters, or Servant of Dawn, which is able to boost any normal monster. Blasto's Inferno is one of the skills that can only boost the skill targets. Being able to bring in a 1600 Twin-Edged Dragon would be a fantastic buff. But even without it, they find lethal. Next up, Bibe versus Yuma Tsukio. Presumably, we have a Cyber Stack. Oh, sorry, Tuskio. And Bibe is on an Archive skill. Could be Harpy. Could be Noodles. Could be Thunder. Could be Servant of Dawn. But with this one, it is confirmed to be Thunder. Stormbolt Destroyer coming in and activating the effect. But a pretty weak opening board. 2 Cyberse monsters get destroyed. But there is an empty spot on the field. And Particle Acceleration destroys the face down. Ragnarok, presumably going to debuff one of their own monsters. Alongside... Well, the Stormbolt Destroyer debuff might be a mistake. Attribute Hydron is able to clear the Stormbolt Destroyer without the debuff. So instead, we needed to debuff the Angler Coilfish so Connector Dog could get a clean clear. Instead, Yuma is forced to crash in the Connector Dog, leaving them a little bit more vulnerable. And here comes a Tribute to the Doomed. Yuma now left with only a single monster on board. Arching Soldier and any other low level would get in for pretty serious damage. However, they have suffered from the classic Thunder Curse and have only been able to bring out a single monster. Particle Acceleration, once again, destroying Widespread Ruin. And with only a lone Arching Soldier to protect them. And Attitude Hydron is going to be devastating. Fortunately for Bibe, they only have sunglasses. Though that is still a 600 debuff. It should be just barely enough to survive one more turn. will they be able to swing in for a full 5,000 damage? Shield and Sword could help, but they have already used Tribute to the Doomed. So instead, they are going to need to find piercing damage and ways to swap those monsters into defense mode. Duckbill returning a card to the bottom and adding back the Stormbolt Destroyer. Looks like they might have enough low levels this time. Surge Bolt on board, followed by Blast Jaws. I am somewhat expecting the final card is going to be a Trigger Drago. But 2800 plus 14 is not going to be enough. And it is indeed the Trigger Drago. While they do technically have over 5,000 damage on board, the Femtron is definitely going to be enough of a blocker to prevent lethal. And now, all Yuma needs to do is draw into another high level monster, and the game ends. Let's see if they can do it. Notably, even if they do not, they are able to set 3 and pass. And they will need to, and then Bibe will need to draw into a Piercing Samurai if they wanted to win. But we do see monsters in attack mode. And a Maximum Ragnarok, debuffing Stormbolt Destroyer. But their high-level monster was the head of Yggdrago, leaving them 100 off from lethal. And they concede after swinging in. The Trigger Drago on board represented lethal, just swinging right into the Connector Dog. I think we haven't seen Yasi play yet. So we're going to load into this one. And it looks like we may have a second Cyberse player. Terra opens up with a Kanan in attack mode. This play makes sense if you think your opponent is on Harpies, as Hysteric Forces are going to flip over one of your defense position monsters, and you need to have something to block them anyway. However, against Cyberse, it makes less sense, unless you have the Roman pick in hand. By putting one of your monsters in attack mode, you are able to intentionally take damage during your opponent's first turn, setting up the Roman pick and recurring, in this case, a Primogotarna. And the board is starting to look pretty strong. Alongside the Primogotarna, we have a Silent Assailant, boosted by the Speedy Reformer. And this is a full field of monsters above 2,500. A well-timed Widespread Ruin would have been able to force some awkward trades, but Yasi does not have it, and as such, they go down all the way to 2,600. And Yggdrago top deck, could still end the game. It is 2,500 damage to swing into a Silent Assailant, plus the 800 from Ragnarok. And of course, Shield and Sword is also able to do an OTK against Psychics at just about any given time. We see Ragnarok activated, debuffing the Prima Guitarna, which means they probably do not have lethal here. Attitude Hydron on board. And that is their only monster. They are going to need multiple trap cards if they want to survive. Terra at exactly 1,000. And that means it's time to draw into Esperade. However, you can only attack directly a single time during the turn you activate this skill. So while the attitude is going down, I believe if they Widespread Ruin, that will count as the one attack. So as long as Terra swings in with not the strongest monster, they should be fine. A buffered slime from Yasi would turn this game around, but it is just a bout. The only card in the game that could save them here. Let's see if Terra gets it. Alright, so we do see the Esperade swing in. Activate the effect. Prima Guitarna swings in, and there is the buffered slime with immunity to dying this turn. Terra with 500 life points and a Speed Reformer on board absolutely is going to get blown out. There are no back row on Terra's field. Even the normal summon Atron is enough to end the game. But they appear to continue drawing. As long as they have not completely bricked themselves, this is fine. But all they need to do is attack. And Yasi gets in a comeback victory. Anyone else we haven't seen yet? There are a few. First up, we'll be watching what is presumably going to be a Royal Rebel deck. I was half expecting Thunder, but I do remember them saying they aren't playing Thunder anymore currently. Invasion in defense mode to help peel off some damage. And overall, this is a pretty good idea. On turn 1, if you have multiple boss monsters, bring out one with the skill. It will protect your life points and then also enable your phasers. And this means even if the only other monster you draw is the only other boss monster you draw is another level 7, you'll still be able to get out both of them. Whereas the skill only allows you to summon one level 7 and one level 8. We do see Royal Rebel's phaser just as planned. Heavy Metal and Invasion enter the board. then Duel is going to push in for 1700 burn plus whatever damage they are able to find from their monsters. 2500, 1200 is not quite lethal, but had they drawn a single additional monster, it would have been game. That said, with 3 back row, I am not expecting Draco to be able to make this comeback. Whether it is Buffered Slime into another Duel, a Widespread Ruin to survive the turn, or just about anything else. Draco is going to have a lot of trouble winning this turn, and then even a simple heavy metal will end the game. Which falls? Shadowbuyer on board, and another one. Both of these are able to become level 5, enabling the heavy metal to take out Witch, or to summon Invasion. But as Witch is not a level 4 lower monster, it doesn't have the ability to use its effect. Though it does not matter. With only 600 life points, the Invasion is able to walk over Witch for game. Alright, next we are going to go ahead and check out Paco's game. Looks like they are on Luke. Will they be back on Resonance? Testing the Fire Dragons, playing aggro, or even revisiting Ancient Forces. Plenty of options, though one is significantly more likely than the others. Alright, we see Millbelly is on Resonance as well. They definitely were not playing this the first time we saw them. Unfortunately, I don't think this is a suitable hand. A single back row into a Resonance player is going to get popped. And Paco is going to swing in for an incredible amount of damage. I wouldn't be surprised if this is game. Though, I think Merchant could have buffed the Twin Edge even further. Rather than having Merchant boost the other Merchant before he attributed off, the Merchant could have boosted the Twin Edge. But of course, it does not matter. We saw an incredible turn 3 game ender. Moving down the list of players I don't think we've spectated, we have Tsukimura. Alright, a solid set 4. Oh, and it looks like we are on some sort of Red Eyes variant. Up against Thunders. As long as the Piercing Samurai hits a low defense monster, they get in for some damage. But it doesn't look like that is going to be the case. We see a monster incarnation for a Red Eyes Black Dragon. But then it doesn't get used, which is odd. Tsukimura down to just 100 life. We see Dragias coming in, but with a milled Widespread Ruin, this probably is not going to be anywhere near enough to turn things around. We see 2 copies of Trigger Drago. And the trap card, or the face down, was not usable last turn. So it doesn't do anything here either. And the game ends. And finally, I do not believe we have seen Sora's deck today. They are on they are on Luke, potentially playing Resonance as well. We see a Piercing Samurai, and as long as they don't run into Triad Drago exactly, they are going to be able to get in 4 damage. I suppose some variants might be running Winged Dragon as well, but in this case, a Twin Edge is hit for a nice 1200 push. However, even with the Essel, there are no boss monsters on board. Leaving B-Bet up for a counterattack. Dragius comes in. But there are 2 back row, so perhaps this Dragius is less dangerous than a Slayer. We see Widespread Ruin, and Dragius is down. Sora goes for the Essel rather than the Samurai, but this could be a mistake. If a boss monster comes onto the board, one of those Dragorites is going into defense mode, and Piercing Samurai is going to be able to pierce it. Keeping a card in hand to play against the Trigger Drago doesn't do anything, if a Piercing Samurai is here to pick up the slack. But we see them thinking, perhaps they don't have anything. Or maybe I've disconnected. Who knows what they could be calculating. I don't think they have anything in the graveyard, so a Duckbill wouldn't do much yet. Alright, so we see 2 Piercing Samurai. And they mill out a Trigger Drago, which is probably the card they are looking for. Good to get the extra resources in the grave. Trigger Drago comes down as expected. So we're going to see a pretty serious push. There is also the possibility of them summoning a second boss monster instead, but I wouldn't suspect it. This board is already pretty strong for pushing in damage. Piercing Samurai getting in for 12, Trigger Drago for 28, and that Dragorite is at 0. They must have been calculating whether or not this was lethal. But we currently have 3 for 5,600. Definitely more than enough. Sora with a 300 attack point Dragorite is going to need that face down card to be something good. but they don't activate anything. Unless it's the guard, this is over. Welcome, Brandon. We are in the middle of running our weekly point battle. I woke up a bit late, but it is proceeding smoothly, as far as I can tell. Let's go ahead and get another Infi game. And also, give me 1 second. I will be right back. We have returned, and we see Infi is on Requiem. I'm not sure if that is what they were playing earlier, but it is the deck I would most expect from them. Looks like they don't open up with anything particularly exceptional on either side. Though a Ghost Cyclone is somewhat threatening. We see an invasion, and it actually works out as Draco Rush did not draw a single boss monster. Invasion clears the entire board before swinging in with 2 direct attacks. A few Light Sorcerers of Sanctity are able to get in a pretty significant debuff, but Draco's life points are getting low, unless they are able to find a lethal through 2 back row here. I would not expect them to survive turn 6. Alright, we do see Witch and Magician. And, of course, an immediate widespread ruin. This is still good enough to clear the board, but Infi has the Recital. Widespread ruin and Recital keep Infi alive. And you might think that there are a lot of trap cards here. Not very many people are actually on Recital, but Rebel decks have adapted to the meta by running as many traps as possible. For a deck with 8 to 9 boss monsters in it, surviving until you can do your combo is generally a good plan. We do see Doom Metal clearing out the board, and that is going to be it. Let's go here. Yasi only draws 2 monsters, which is probably not what they want to see going first. Especially not into a Dragius. They are going to be saved from a bit of damage, as the final card in Klaus's hand is a spell trap card. But I wouldn't call that a good thing. If there is a widespread ruin backing up this board, they could be in trouble. Though, admittedly, less so, when Yggdrasil the Sky Emperor enters the field. And unfortunately, no Out to the Dragius was drawn. In Servant of Dawn, you probably need to get exactly a Talismanic Seal Ray. Though, of course, the real win condition is that most players are not going to find Yggdrago on the second turn. Let's go with another Sora match. Go here. No. We see a set 4 from Sora. And 3 Seal Array sounds like a lot, but if you are fighting a lot more Yggdrago decks than previously, I suppose it makes sense. We see the new card, Dragon's Return, from Sora. Many players are simply choosing to run Talismanic Seal Ray as their shuffle back of choice. But Dragon's Return does offer consistency. I suppose the Resonance deck is technically able to get over anything with their own tools. So the return might be worth testing out. Sora manages to keep 2 cards in hand, preventing any major damage from Trigger Drago's Piercing. Welcome, Wild Gamer. I do not play a ton of speed duels, but from my understanding, none of the God cards are particularly viable. Alright, so we see a full set of back row from Sora, but they are probably just stalling until they can find a good play. We see Bunker Strike, and when combined with the Sports Dragons, that should probably be enough to find what you are looking for. An easy double boss board, 2 2800 attack point monsters, able to clear both the Stormbolt Destroyer and the Trigger Drago, while taking out the buffered slime as well. We see Dragon's Return and Seal Array, but it doesn't look like Sora drew into another low-level monster, unfortunately. That said, 2 copies of Seal Array might just be enough. And Sora gets in for game. Let's go ahead and view Zid versus Paco. Going to assume Paco is indeed the one on Rebels, and Zid, presumably going to be running their Fire Dragon deck, which they are probably the only player to have had success with it. A turn 1 Fire Guardian in attack mode. Potentially running into some issues if Paco summons out a heavy metal. But it looks like Paco draws nothing. And the Fire Guardian remains safe. The one and only multi-check Dragon Dragias comes onto the board. Bless's Inferno boosting up the Fire Guardian, protecting Dragias from Widespread Ruin. Recital is going to keep Paco's life points safe. And a Doom Metal play now would inflict 1300 burn. We see a Phaser. And presumably a second Doom Metal is in hand. But with 3 back row, Zid probably isn't going to be taking too much damage here. Or they have nothing at all and take a full 3700. Things are looking rough. We see the Seal Array. Traveling back 3 different tribute monsters. Assuming that they are on 2 Phoenix Dragon. I actually don't think I like shuffling away the Dragias, as now you're actually less likely to end up with it on a future turn. We see Essel. Let's see if they choose to mill to refill the graveyard for a second Seal Array. They buff the Essel rather than the Winged Dragon. Another odd play. Though, okay, if they don't have a 2 tribute, it makes sense. Welcome, Raphael. And Battle Phase. Looks like Paco is taking some damage. But they are probably running either the Guard or Recital. So swinging in with the Fire Guardian first would have ensured more damage. We see Paco shuffling away 3 boss monsters. Though I think maybe shuffling away 2 of them and keep putting the Phaser back may have been slightly better. I'm not 100% sure. We see a Heavy Metal and a Shadow Buyer, and that is 2 level 5 or higher monsters. And in fact, it is even 2 level 7 or higher monsters. If a Death Doom gets summoned, that should be game. The burn damage finishes it off. With all of the burn damage going around in the meta, we have the Noodles with 1,000 from Extra Spice, and the Rebels with Doom Metal. You might be tempted to add in Plaster Scout, which prevents you from taking burn damage during the main phase. However, if Doom Metal destroys the Plaster Scout, you're going to take the damage anyway. So there isn't really that much you can do to stop it, other than playing monsters in defense mode. Alright, so we see Asko on Harpies. Hysteric Force going to be able to flip over one of these monsters, potentially swinging in for a huge amount of damage. We see a 4,400 pet dragon. And no widespread. 3,200 Draco is looking to be in a rough spot. But a Doom Metal can always turn things around. Essel activating the effect, no problem. Trying to get more cards in the graveyard. Though what for? Probably a Talismanic Seal Array. We already have a level 7, so Phaser is alive. Alright, Death Doom Requiem. Bringing out an invasion. This is good enough to summon out a heavy metal. And get some progress in. However, Osco does have 3 set cards. Which is likely to be a problem. Alright, they do destroy the Harpy's Pet Dragon. Somehow. I definitely was expecting something to be flipped. But that could still be bad for Draco. If there are 3 non-trap cards face down right now, we are almost certainly going to be seeing Talismanic Seal Arrays. Or other methods of getting through this heavy metal. And apparently Twitch has decided to start acting up. After this game, I am going to take a quick water break, and we will be right back. I'll just throw on another game after this one. The Harpy Ladies get in. I'll throw on this one, and I will be right back. No, Tomato. That was a mistake. Thank you, Redfire, Tomato, and Serena for letting me know. Okay, so for some reason, when I came out here, the big result screen showed up. But there should still be another half hour, and it is set up properly. Thank you for letting me know. Sorry, I got frazzled when I popped back into the room. Okay, I wanted to check the current results. We have Biba in first. Tied, actually. And Osco, we definitely have multiple players here that have not topped an event before. There is still half an hour to go. And as we head into the final stretch, it is just about anyone's game. Fourth place at 4,200. But we have Infi Hearts and Yasi, both also capable of getting into the top 4 with just one win. Half an hour is more than enough time for 2 to 4 games. And with first place being under 5,000, that means anyone on a last-minute win streak can put in results. Interestingly, over here we do have some players that I don't think have dueled much. I definitely don't recognize, well, I mean, I recognize Extra Power's name, but I haven't seen them at all in today's event. Let's go ahead and take a look at what Infi is up to. So, Sora is starting with a set 3 pass. However, it is actually a set 5, as they have gone ahead and sent 2 monsters to the graveyard for a tribute summon. Presumably, it is going to be a Bunker Strike face down, but it is actually a Dragius, and Infi was not able to draw into any monsters to clear this during their last turn. Dragonic Slayer into a Bunker Strike, while keeping Dragius around. Bunker Strike able to get 2 cards deeper into the deck. And then they find a second Dragonic Slayer. This is definitely a lot of resources just to destroy some back row. But if they are trying to avoid running into a Widespread Ruin, I suppose it makes sense. I definitely probably would have chosen to end with a full field though. We saw cards like Dragorite getting tributed off. And having the Slayer around for a future turn isn't necessarily a bad idea. It looks like Infi has switched off of the Rebels and is back on Turn of Dawn. Perhaps they are thinking with only half an hour left, they need an aggro deck in order to get in as many games as possible. And Sora is also playing incredibly aggressively. The issue I would have with this is that they might run out of boss monsters, but they managed to draw into another Dragius perfectly timed. And this one is even prismatic. We know from the previous turn that Infi Hearts' face down is not anything relevant here. So Dragius is going to be able to clear both Flame Cerberus. And that is going to be it for the turn, as Sora did use a Sports Dragon pitcher earlier in the turn, leaving them unable to attack with the Dragorite and Winged Dragon. Keeping these monsters in attack mode, rather than setting them, is a potential game-losing play. However, it doesn't look like they have lethal just yet. While this is going to be a board clear, Sora is going to get another chance. So that is an extra 2100 damage from the attack position misplay. It is Sora's move. And another Sports Dragon pitcher is coming down. Slugger and Tribute off for the third Dragonic Slayer. Phoenix Dragon presumably into a Dragius to try to end this game. Slayer is able to destroy the back row. And that is a guaranteed lethal. Sora manages to take a win. Thank you for the follow, Princess Zoe. Hope you're having a good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on where you're from. Alright, so next we have Yuma versus Clausulus. And it looks like Yuma is up second. I don't know why I thought they were going first. Clausulus is opening up with a Dragius plus Arching Soldier in attack mode. This is better than setting 3 and passing, assuming that your opponent is not going to be able to find 2 big monsters to out this. As you can see, we do have the Noodle Ninjas, so there is a slight possibility. But if they manage to flip up a trap card, they keep their board entirely protected. Looks like Spice is going to be able to take it out. But Flame Cerberus with Servant of Dawn means there are multiple monsters capable of dealing with this Spice, the Noodle Ninja. Combustion Crisis is activated, but it doesn't do much of anything. A 600 burn trap card is incredibly substandard, but for those of you who are not aware or who have not seen the card before, Combustion Crisis has an additional effect. If the opponent has 2 level 7 monsters on board, you are able to shuffle one away entirely. This is very good against a very few specific decks. It doesn't work on level 8 or higher monsters, so the warriors are able to play around it just fine. But if you're playing against a traditional aggro deck that is bringing out boards like Ancient Arise Dragon plus Dragius, your Combustion Crisis is able to get a huge amount of value. So it is a bit substandard in the current meta where decks like Harpy, Servant of Dawn, and Noodles are all running non-level 7 boss monsters. Welcome Zoe. Glad to have you here. What's your favorite Rush Duel deck? We see a Ghost Cyclone, and after a Talismanic Seal Array, or 2, they are able to get the extra draw off of the effect. We see a Silver Wolf for even more debuffing, and Speed Performer is going to boost up Gazelle. We have a Barrier from Yuma, but that is not nearly enough to actually stop the attack. And with 1100 damage, Yuma goes down to a field of low-level monsters. And we'll go ahead and see what Paco is up to. And it looks like it is going to be a Royal Rebel Mirror. Alright, setting 4 face down. Completely reasonable play. Paco opens immediately with an Arching Soldier. Going to be able to clear any of the monsters that could possibly be set there. And in the mirror match, most of these monsters are going to have 0 defense or at most 1100 from the Rogue of Archfiend. So bringing out 2 1200 monsters like the Shadow Buyer is going to work perfectly. We see a Royal Rebels Phaser, but there is nothing in the graveyard to summon out. Fortunately for them, Shadow Buyer is going to become level 7 and the Doom Metal is coming down. Then with a Royal Rebels Heavy Metal in the graveyard, Phaser is able to tag out. But unless that set card is the Gate Drop spell, they aren't going to be able to attack with it. Widespread Ruin protects Paco's life points, but it looks like they don't have anything to counterattack with. And both players have started to wall up with plenty of trap cards in both players' decks. This could be in for a long game. Invasion swings in for just 1 monster cleared. And even if Paco manages to get out a Doom Metal play. Alright, and it looks like we were able to reconnect successfully. Sorry to anybody if there was a blip in the stream. My internet appears to have gone out for a moment. But we are back. And Paco is here with the Death Doom Requiem, this time using Monster Reincarnation to grab a Shadow Buyer. Shadow Buyer is going to become level 7 now that there are 3 face-up monsters on the board. And that means Doom Metal is going to go in for its full effect. Doom Metal swings in for 1600 and then attempts to swing in for the 25, but Widespread Ruin is going to leave Paco with an empty board. There's only a single face-down card. It is probably the Slime, but they have the Ghost Cyclone, and that is probably going to end the game. We see a Monster Reincarnation for an Archfiend Soldier, and that is 1900 plus 2500 from a Doom Metal. And that is 44, leaving Paco alive by the skin of their teeth. Death Doom Requiem coming out again. Heavy Metal and Invasion, and another Doom Metal. Burning for 1200, and this could be game. However, there is still a face down card, and we have not seen Slime from them yet. And it looks like they actually went ahead and set their card face down, rather than going for lethal. Perhaps the set monster is something like a Royal Rebels Phaser that wouldn't have been able to end the game. But with both players under 1,000 life, the next Doom Metal will end it. Let's take a look at the graveyards. 1 of each, 2 Heavy Metals, all 3 Heavy Metal, 2 of each, all 3 Doom Metal. The only boss monster left in the deck should be a lone copy of Invasion. Without a Talismanic Seal Array, I don't think they're going to be able to clear this board. Or ever win the game. They are thinking. Probably looking through their own graveyard and realizing that their options are limited. And they go ahead and set 2 monsters face down. Paco can theoretically get over this board. With a 3 monster push and win the game. But there is also a trap card that could change things. Also worth noting that we have seen the Monster Reincarnation, so reshuffling the Doom Metal is not going to be that easy. They're going to need to draw it into one of their Shadow Buyers. But Paco is going to go ahead and go for a defense position play. Currently, Paco is on track to win via deck out. The way to avoid this, as Silas, is to use a Shadow Buyer to put back a Doom Metal into the deck, and then win by destroying the opposing Doom Metal with your effect. However, this is going to mean Shadow Buyer is in attack mode, as we didn't have a Talismanic Seal Array. There should be 1 more Royal Rebels Invasion in the deck, and it needs to be Tribute set in order to make this a safe play. Otherwise, naturally, the Shadow Buyer is just going to be walked over. Or maybe a buffered Slime will have something to say about it. Let's see what they do. I think the top plays are setting more back row, so that the Shadow Buyer is not going to lose them the game when Paco changes into attack mode. Alternatively, they can Tribute set, which is exactly what they do. However, they are going to need to set 2 more cards or at least 1 more monster in order to make this safe. And that puts them down to just 2 cards in hand, where they will draw 3 on the next turn. But this has changed the position. 3 heavy metal, 1 invasion, and a doom metal. It is looking like Paco is going to need to make the same play and get this doom metal off the board. Leaving any monsters face up is going to be a death sentence. Unless there is a stop defense, Paco, of course, is also going for a tribute set. And they pass here. We do know that Paco does not have the slime readied, but they could have a copy of the guard. And trying to attack directly and giving your opponent 3 extra cards here is incredibly detrimental. They are going to go ahead and use a Shadow Buyer before leveling up the invasion. This will get them 1 more card in the deck. All of these resources are being managed incredibly carefully. We see another heavy metal coming out onto the board. And a Royal Bubbles command. They are going for a lethal push here. I believe the set monster could be a doom metal. But they played a few too many cards. Even if they used the Shadow Buyer's effect, they wouldn't have been able to get another monster back into the deck. So that is going to be game. They have no turns remaining. Paco ends turn and wins. In a 21-turn game. The mirror matches definitely can get drawn out when both players know how to avoid getting blown up. We have a little bit under 15 minutes remaining, and it looks like Bibe and Osco and Bungle are all still in the top 4, which means I believe Iasi fell out, with Paco taking the spot. There is still time for 1 or 2 more games, so I would say anybody around Draco's position or higher could still get in. Keep in mind, not only are they able to gain 2,000 points by winning a few games, but whoever they are defeating is going to be losing those points. Accelerating their move up the rankings. I think Envy Hearts is definitely a favorite to have potentially made the top 4. So if they are still playing, we are going to go see what they are up to. But it looks like they may have given up. I don't see them in the queue right now. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at this. We know Bibe is in first place. And if they manage to win another game, they will have an incredibly comfortable lead. Alright, Anasaur is starting off with a perfect full house. 5 set cards. But the Thunder Monsters are going to be able to bring in a Storm Bolt Destroyer. Unfortunately, they had 2 copies of Sensor Duckbill, though Blastros is going to be able to get one of those back into the deck. Welcome to the stream, Shota Todoroki. Hope you are having a good one. So we see Bibe clear the entire board, but Sora is going in for extra advantage with Dragon's Return. Sports Dragon Slugger is going to not be able to use the effect, but the Dragon's Return gave them the extra card they needed anyway. Bunker Strike is going to draw a full 3 and set them up perfectly, with a Sports Dragon pitcher getting milled to the graveyard. Dragonic Resonance boosts up 2 monsters, but they don't choose to buff the Twin Edge Dragon, which is questionable. to say the least. They even had an extra card in hand and would have been able to clear out the Blast Draws. Well, okay. Actually, they wouldn't have been able to clear out the Arching Soldier if they did boost the Twin-Edged Dragon. So that makes sense. Never mind, they made the correct play. Though, if that is what they were doing, the Twin-Edged Dragon should probably be in face-down defense position. Obviously, there is the risk of a Piercing Samurai. But it is less likely that they draw it or it's more likely that they don't draw it. In any case, we see Bibe establish a pretty strong board. Though Sora is not giving up just yet. We see the Sports Dragons activating the artifact, and then a Dragon's Return to draw an additional card. Piercing Dragon, Bunker Strike, going to filter through the deck one more time, and send another Sports Dragon into the grave. This is a very similar looking board to last time. But now, the final card in hand, the one and only Multi-Strike Dragon Dragius coming out. Dragonic Resonance, not able to buff Dragius, but this is still more than enough to clear out the game. Both copies of Sports Dragon's Pitcher returned into the deck, and leaving exactly one of each. So, any Sports Dragon drawn is going to be a combo piece. We have 3,000 life points, and no cards in hand. Fortunately, though, both of these monsters do have a relevant defense stat. So the Trigger Drago is not getting in for 3,000. Lightning Trigger is going to debuff and switch to defense mode, and they get a clear. Sora going to probably need to win on this turn if they want to stay, or their life points are going to be a little bit too dangerous for comfort. Twin-Edged Dragon plus Slayer, I believe, is not lethal yet. They are going to need another monster. These chip damages are not quite enough. I am doing pretty well. Thank you for asking, Shoto. It always takes me a little bit to wake up, but I think we are doing well now. We see a Piercing Samurai, and that is going to be game. Trigger Drago, does not have access to the piercing itself because Sora kept a card in hand. But even without it, clearing over the Twin-Edged Dragon is enough. And even if it wasn't, we had a full additional 1,200 from the Piercing Samurai. And that puts Bibe at a commanding lead with 6,700 points. They have entered another game. But it might not be the right play. If they lose, they will go down to 57 and actually still be in first, so it's probably fine unless everybody else gets in a huge win to shake up these events. Yasi and Paco fighting for that 4th place slot, with a couple of other players not far behind. There is only room for a single extra fight. So what will be the final one we watch? I'm thinking we are going to be watching Paco to see if they're able to get a win against the top-ranked player in the point battle. If Paco is able to end this game in under 5 minutes, they are going to be able to sneak into the top cut. But the Royal Bubble deck is not known for being the fastest on the planet, assuming that the opponent is able to play into it. However, it looks like Bibe only opened a single low-level monster. Metal, uncontested on the board. Will the attack connect? No. Widespread movement coming in. We see a Sensor Duckbill, but nothing to revive with it. Trigger Drago, and a set monster to prevent a bigger blowout from a second Doom Metal. B-Bet makes solid progress towards winning this game, but Paco is able to revive the Doom Metal with Phaser before bringing in a Heavy Metal. Okay, they actually did not need to do that. They already had a Heavy Metal on board, and here comes a Stop Defense before swinging in for 3,500. Losing out on what was a potentially preemptive widespread ruin. We see a Mill of Tribute to the Doomed by the Essel. And now B-Bet is going in for a lethal push. Trigger Drago, plus the Stormbolt could theoretically do it. But that is an odd sequencing. Trigger Drago did have piercing. So that was odd. Obviously it wouldn't have mattered as the guard would have prevented a lethal blow here. But Doom Metal is coming in and 1,400 burn plus whatever attacks they have. Oh, it's not able to use the effect as there were only 2 monsters on board, so Shadowbuyer was not able to get up to level 7. Interesting. Blast Jaws and Trigger Drago, allowing for a quite large monster. But with 3 back row and a widespread ruin and a slime left to go, there is no way of breaking through this board. We see a full field, but I am not expecting it to be enough. They will end. Oh, Talismanic Seal Array. Going to bring down the Doom Metal to 100 life points remaining, or to 100 attack remaining. Still not lethal though. Especially not if they have a widespread or a slime. Or both. And no trap cards on B's field. The attack, number 1, goes through. If either of these connect, it is game. But they have the buffered slime. And that means they are forced to pass turn. Only 1 Doom Metal in the graveyard. 1,400, 1,600 from just summoning out a Doom Metal and using the effect. But Paco is going for a set 3 pass play. Will the Thunder deck be able to find any way to pierce it? It actually does not matter. As the VCR recording ends, Paco will be denied the top cut, unable to declare the final attack that would win them the game. I would say Paco is definitely advantaged in this situation. Eventually, they are going to find a Doom Metal and a burn for 1,800. But they are not going to be allowed to do so. The timer is up. We exit the duel as it is over. We can go over to here and you can see the point battle has ended. Let's take a look at the top 4. A wide variety. Let's go ahead over to the announcements channel so I can set up the top cut. so the point battle is over, but our tournament is not done. Stick around for just a few minutes, and we will be getting the top players into a room together. And let me make sure I know who is in 5th place, just in case somebody isn't able to participate. Alright, it is once again under Noxo. Leave the point battle. Gotta claim the logins. I love pop-ups. PvP arena, duel room, and create room, rush, of course. Not a point battle anymore. We can scroll down so as many players can enter as they want. Though we are only going to be viewing the top cut battles. Check room and copy ID. There we go. Shoto, I hope you enjoy your day, and Paco, sorry for the unfortunate loss there. Or, I mean, I think you probably ended up winning, but I left the room before the battle concluded as the timer ran out. Message request. Alright, so Osco and Bungle have submitted. We need a list from Yasi and BB. Looks like BB is in the room. And they can begin. Then I head over to here. And it looks like we have all 4 decks ready. No, Tomato, there were no Ride Across players in the event, and there will not be any Ride Across players in the top cut. Honestly, I agree with Clauselus. I don't mind if players bring something casual to the event. It is a fairly casual format, given the way everything works. But the top cut results, other players do use that information. And a new player walking into the server is going to get confused if they see the top cut is full of just wacky decks, way worse than what people are actually using in the point battle. If you want to use Ride Across, do it during the first hour and a half. And it looks like Osco and Yasi are ready to go. Osco is up first. They get a full house and set 5 cards. Hearing that Paco was going to bring right across, I am happy for your loss, praying for your downfall. L ratio, touch grass, draw better, just win bro, etc. But anyway, we see a Femtron into a double Harpy Lady Sister board. Hysteric Force, not able to get a flip, but with Yasi not drawing any of their own boss monsters, they are in for some pretty serious damage. Tribute to the Doomed is able to take out the defense position monster, and it is another Femtron. Yasi does potentially have a trap here, as the attack is not going through. Buffered Slime activating. It does save them from over 1,000 damage. But the Harpy Lady deck is really only running Ghost Cyclones as removal. So you could try to play around it and keep the Buffered Slime for a later time. Though, with Osco having 3 set cards, getting rid of the Slime now, where you know you can guarantee a little bit of value out of it, is not a bad plan either. Alright, an Atron cycle. But if they didn't find any of their bosses, this is going to look rough. And even if they did, there is a pretty high probability of a trap card here. That said, Maximum Ragnarok is a double 800 debuff, and that will bring both copies of Harpy Lady Sisters down to 1300, allowing normal monsters to clear them. But for some reason, they don't. I suppose they are afraid of the Widespread Ruin, and then only having 1 monster on board, which is somewhat fair. Alright, and we see a Harpy's Pet Dragon, boosted all the way up to 3,200. Another copy of Harpy Lady Sisters, and while this one is the one immune to Widespread Ruin, the Harpy's Pet Dragon is much too large for that to matter. Looks like the Harpy Lady Sisters is buffing itself as insurance against Widespread Ruin. This is a pretty reasonable play. The dragon goes down, but you still get in for a ton of damage thanks to buffing the middle piece rather than going all in on the pet dragon. Definitely the right play. We see a monster reincarnation, and there was an Yggdrago piece in the graveyard. Is this going to be the one and only maximum summon? Yggdrago on board. But with 6,000 life points, Osco is safe this turn. Particle Acceleration destroys a Talismanic Seal Array, the exact card needed to out this Yggdrago. Widespread Ruin going down, but not as important. Osco's graveyard already has Tribute to the Doomed and 2 Talismanic Seal Arrays in there. Will they run any other method of outing this monster? Counter Pigeons, reducing by 1,000, but that is a temporary debuff. Climbing up above 4,000 is going to require a lot of work. A Harpy's Pet Dragon goes up to 2,900. And with a Harpy Lady Sisters middle piece, it is just barely able to clear the maximum. But they've already used their legend spell. Both debuffers are in the graveyard. And there is even a pet dragon in a grave. Do they own a second one? Are they running it? Will they be able to find all of the cards they need? The Harpy Lady's middle piece over the buffered slime. It seems interesting, but it makes sense. Buffered slime is unable to work on Yggdrago. It is a level 10 monster, and buffered slime only works on level 8 or lower monsters. The one downside to this otherwise incredibly powerful card. I will say it does seem a bit odd to me that they went for the left piece rather than the middle. I think they might be trying to assemble a maximum summon of their own. We see a debuff from Maximum Ragnarok. That is 3,800 damage coming in. Yasi could flip and destroy the other monster, but it is not worth losing 6 cards from the deck. We see another counter pigeons to keep Osco's life points as high as possible. But are they going to be able to find their own maximum? Or some other out to Yggdrago? Setting a monster is not a great start. It is worth noting. Maximum Ragnarok is able to put a card back on top of the deck, or the bottom every turn. So Yasi would never deck out. Though they are much more likely to start flipping up monsters and go for game rather than stall. We see a set monster. But is that going to be good enough? As long as the Yggdrago flips over a monster, do they have any method to protect themselves? Buffered Slime doesn't work, and is in the graveyard. We've seen 2 copies of Counter Pigeons. This Harpy Lady only has 500 attack. There's no way to get a 1200 debuff here. And Yggdrago takes game number 1. Let's go ahead and see what the other players are up to. We see a Pikachu and a 7-sword mage tributed. Servant of Dawn going in over a deck we will find out momentarily. Or not if we are only revealing Essels. But it is Thunder. Sensor deck Duel only shows up in one deck. The third Essel manages to mill a Surge Bolt Lizard, providing access for Stormbolt Destroyer to revive a monster. But also, I do want to point out this anime duelist type graveyard. 3 Essel, 2 Piercing Samurai, and of course you have to mill your trap cards. Have to show that you are running it, but you can't decide anime duels with cards like this. Silverwolf providing a few debuffs, and a couple of tribute summons would then be able to clear it. Servant of Dawn boosting the Cerberus, but the Vorse Raider not good enough. A bit odd. The Silver Wolves split their debuffs for some reason. Sword and Shield swinging in a little bit preemptively. I don't think that was worth it. Ghost Cyclone removing the buffered slime is nice. But I feel like you could have saved that trap card for a more impactful swing. We see Speedy Performer and Dragius on board. But they clear out the Speedy Performer so it can't be run over by a bigger monster. But I don't think that helps them. We have a Duckbill. Doesn't need to use the effect as there's already a Stormbolt. And a Trigger Drago. And that is going to be game. So it looks like Thunder has managed to take a game. If we view the replays, we can see that we are caught up. There aren't any other matches we have yet to watch. Asuka opening with a set 4. Yasi getting a bit of a better hand than last time. Blowing up a Ghost Cyclone before destroying 2 of the cards. Not sure what the face down monster is going to be. But maybe it's an Atron. I didn't feel comfortable in its ability to clear out the 3rd monster. Faithbird, Harpy Lady, and Trick Pigeon all have enough defense to wall out a weaker monster. Asuka ends on a lone pet dragon. Oh, it's an Yggdrago piece, and that makes plenty of sense. But they are tripping it off for the head. Femtron attempts to clear pet dragon, and it will be successful. Though Wisebud Villain claims the Yggdrago head as a cost. Asuka goes up and only has to get through 2 monsters this turn. Faithbird, alongside a Harpy Lady Sisters, is going to be good enough, but they go one step further. Harpy Lady Sisters mid and right will clear this board. Yasi keeping 2 cards in hand. Could be extra low level monsters, could be maximum pieces. And here it is, Yggdrago coming out again. The Sky Emperor summoned 2 duels in a row. Players are largely writing off the Cyber Stack as one of the weaker meta contenders. But as you can see, it is a little bit more consistent than you might at first think. However, this is far from a done game. Yggdrago is on board. But this time, Tribute to the Doomed and multiple Talismanic Seal Arrays are still around. Ghost Cyclone destroying a back row. Tribute to the Doomed popping that Yggdrago, leaving Yasi with a completely empty board. Except for a widespread ruin, capable of cleaning out the Cyber Tech Alligator. Atron draws a card. Dark Femtron, Connector Dog, and a second Femtron. If these attacks go through, that is game. No buffered slime here. And Cybers takes a 2-0 victory. Moving on into the finals. Let's see if BB is able to also advance. Or if we will be going to game number 3. BB opening up with a set 4. And it looks like Bungle was bluffing when they went to set their own monsters. KoG's coming out to clear this board. No cards in hand can be an issue against Thunder, but this is definitely the better play. You need to make sure you have a full field. And it looks like BB actually has no bosses in the top 9 cards. This gives Bungle the opportunity to develop a board where every monster has 1200 or more defense. Piercing Samurai offers no value. And there's even a card in hand to prevent Trigger Drago from inflicting piercing damage. Trigger Drago is coming out, and it might clear out the Tough Striker. But you're going to need to do a little bit more than that. Blast Jaws is going to allow the Angler Coilfish to clear Gazelle, or allow itself. Silare debuffs the Tough Striker further, and Trigger Drago swings into KoG. Rise of Boon, but not as big of a deal as you might think. Tough Striker still going down. Shield and Sword, reducing both of those monsters to 0, is going to be huge for Bungle. No trap card. And not quite lethal, but a very difficult situation to come back from. I think we are headed for a game 3. Lightning Trigger debuffing the KoG, and an Arching Soldier to go with it. Not quite enough to clear this board. Only a lone back row, standing between Bungle and a game 2 victory. And I suppose they also need to draw into some boss monsters. Arching Soldier with 1900 means anything with 2600 or more is going to be able to do it. Flame Cerberus can end the game. And we see a Talismanic Seal Ray, which does just as well. A 1400 debuff on the Trigger Drago brings it down to 11, but an 800 debuff on Arching Soldier does the same thing. Speed Reformer boosting Gazelle to 19, and that is a lethal swing, as long as there is not a trap card to stop the attack. Flame Cerberus offers a second form of lethal. And even if a slime comes out, this board is pretty resilient to losing on the next turn. Silver Wolf for an additional debuff. Servant of Dawn boosting Cerberus is fine. I don't think all of these moves are necessary. But the extra insurance, just in case they slime, makes sense. You want to play through things carefully. Slime indeed does get activated and keeps BB alive. But we have a card in hand, 2 high defense monsters, and 2 back row. Turning 5 cards into 3000 damage is going to be pretty difficult here. And a lone face down monster is definitely not going to be it. Servant of Dawn activates. And it is time for game number 3. Let's go ahead and pop into the spectator room. And it looks like Servant of Dawn is up first. Surely this should be an advantage. But are they going to set the final card face down? They do. A full house. BB can potentially punish with a Trigger Drago. But are they even going to draw it? And are they even running 3 copies? A fair few amount of players are only running 2 these days. To prevent situations like in the last game, where you're only able to set a single monster on a critical turn. We do see a Trigger Drago coming down, but with 3 back row. Is that piercing attack even going to connect? A widespread ruin would leave BB completely exposed. A lone blast draws and 1 face down is probably not going to save you from a big push. Alright, we see the most important swing, and the widespread ruin is here to stop it. Blast draws, swings in over a Silver Wolf. But Bungo gets to keep 3 cards, and is now working with 8 cards to out a 2-card field. Unless things have gone horribly wrong, they are going to be able to push in for at least 3,000 damage. I will say this is unlike last week where players were bringing right across into top cut. All 4 of these players were using these decks during the point battle. So they were able to have a good ladder session. You can kind of equate winning a point battle to reaching King of Games. It's not necessarily 5 in a row, but you need to be winning more than you're losing. Okay, and that is an incredibly weak board for an 8-card hand. Nekogal getting destroyed by the Widespread Ruin, leaving Gazelle on its own. 3 back row, but is that good enough? It looks like BB has drawn into 2 back row of their own, and is not going to be able to establish a super powerful board themselves. If they drew even a single tribute monster, there is no chance of getting all 3 monsters onto the field. But Angler Coilfish and Arching Soldier coming down. If it is a Stormbolt Destroyer, summoning it makes sense. But it is actually a Blast Draws. With Talismanic Seal Array, all 3 of these monsters are going to be able to out the Gazelle. So no matter what cards we have hiding face down, a bare minimum of 2,000 damage. Unfortunately, they do not attack with the Arching Soldier and get blocked off by a Sword and Shield. They absolutely could have played around that, but they lose Blast Draws. But just as expected, they managed to get in for a round 3,000, though it could have been significantly more. Ghost Cyclone activating the effect to destroy Jupiter the Doomed. But without a Talismanic Seal Array to shuffle away monsters, they are not going to be able to draw a card off of this. Shield and Sword activating. And given that they had the Shield and Sword, maybe it is better the Blast Draws went away. We see Pock Rocket Chew, and Gazelle, and Flame Cerberus. 3 more cards. There could be a Dragia still. Oh, but they have it bricked. If they are tripping off that Flame Cerberus, I am not expecting anything else to be entering the board. Dragius gets in for 3,500. But BB is still around, and very much is able to win this game. A good turn. Will put out 3,000 damage. A Stormbolt Destroyer plus a 1,500 is enough. Switching Dragius to defense mode and swinging in for exactly 3k. Alright, and they are halfway there. We see the Stormbolt Destroyer. Show me a Quailfish. And there it is. With no face down cards, there is nothing Bungle is going to be able to do. BB advances into the finals with a 2-1 victory. And with BB in the finals, they are at a huge advantage playing Thunder against Maximum Ragnarok. The Maximum Ragnarok skill comes with a cost of sending a card away from your hand. And this means almost all of your normal combos are using all 5 of your cards. Summon out 2 monsters, send a card away, tribute off 2. Summon out 3, send a card away, debuff one of yours and an opponent's, tribute off for a boss. And those are just 5 monster hands. Adding in spells and traps, and you are almost always going to be ready to get hit by a Tricky Drago Piercing. And every single Cyberse monster has 100 or 0 defense. Yasi is going to be needing a very lucky set of games if they want to be able to win over Thunder. This is not a good matchup. And here we go. Looks like Yasi is going first. But is that even a good thing? Going ahead and setting 3 face down monsters that the opponent knows have no defense means Piercing Samurai is going to get in for free damage should BB draw it. We see 2 monsters. But what else does Yasi have in store? Summoning out a boss monster on turn 1 is a potential play. But with Lightning Trigger switching it right to defense mode, it's risky. And BB passes. This is exactly what Yasi needed. A wide open board. No spell trap cards. No chump defenders. Ragnarok debuffing their own monsters to bring in tribute monsters cheaper. Though you have so many cards, you might not even need to do that. I suppose it depends on whether or not you want to keep these other things in your hand. Alright, we see a set card. And Yasi keeps a card in their hand and a card on the top of the deck. It is still possible. They have 2 Yggdrago pieces. BB, will they play this turn? From 200 life points, it's totally acceptable if they just choose to pass again. But they are going to go ahead and summon out a Blast Jaws. Summoning in Trigger Drago. but it feels like everything is a little bit too late. I'm assuming the other 3 cards in their hand are all high-level monsters. If they had 2 last turn, they would have summoned them out to bring in a boss. So their hand must have been a Blast Draws and 4 high-level monsters. Widespread Ruin, and that is just such an unfortunate game number 1. Before we get into game number 2, I am going to take just a very quick break to go grab some extra water. Unless the game ends in 1 turn, you all aren't going to miss anything, and we will be right back. And we are back. And it doesn't look like they have even queued in for the game. So we are all good to go. So once they start, we will go ahead and spectate. This could be the final game of the tournament, but BB could also get a win and bring it down to game 3. This does remind me, I need to send over the other deck lists to Colossalus. Yasi starts with a set 3, but 2 of those cards are back row. BB can definitely get in for a fair amount of damage here. Anything with a Piercing Samurai would do well, but it'll be even better if they get a boss monster. We see an Archfiend Soldier coming out onto the board, which is a card I think is unlikely to be tributed unless they are in a dire situation yet again. Stormbolt Destroyer tributing over Archfiend. But maybe they do have the Piercing Samurai, and that is why they tributed the Archfiend Soldier. If they were open 3 level 7s 2 games in a row, That would be devastating. But as predicted, Piercing Samurai comes out, giving up a slightly stronger monster for the crackback for a potential 1100 to 1200 extra damage this turn. I think this is the right play. Unfortunately for BB, Yasi has once again drawn Widespread Ruin. Yasi down to 3400. Obviously, an additional 2400 would have essentially locked them out of the game, barring an immediate Yggdrago. But 3400 gives them a few options. I apologize if you can hear the dog barking. Alright, so we see an Yggdrago piece. Maxim Ragnarok. Could either debuff both of BB's monsters, but I think it's much more likely we see it on the Yggdrago piece itself. I'm going to bring in an Attribute Hydron or an Yggdrago head, or sunglasses based on whatever it is they've drawn. There are only two Cyberse monsters in the graveyard though, and this is a bit of a weak board. I'm pretty sure BB is on Shield and Sword or Shift to the Doomed, both of which would just remove Attribute from the field. Alright, we see another Stormbolt Destroyer. And it revives the Surge Bolt. Technically, there is nothing on board that currently outs Attribute. But of course, the Lightning Trigger skill is going to be debuffing it by a significant margin. And Trigger Drago, not going to be able to pierce. Lightning Trigger providing a debuff. And they choose not to switch it to defense position. So this is a potential miss of 200 damage. As currently, the Attribute Hydron blocked 1700 from the Stormbolt Destroyer. In defense mode, it would have blocked only 1500 from a Surge Bolt Lizard, but keeping it in attack mode does make sense given that the opponent had to back row. And you also had more than enough to lethal them. By keeping it in attack mode, even if one of your attacks gets stopped, you're able to run over it for damage and get damage that way, rather than wasting 2 attacks for 0 damage if it's in defense mode. But in either case, we are moving on to game number 3. And BB is first. And it looks like they have drawn reasonably well, with 4 set cards. This is a big advantage. Not only do they have a positive matchup into Cyberse, by going first on the final game, they are getting access to 4 more cards from their deck than the opponent. Yasi summons a Connector Dog and sets 2. Presumably the other 2 cards are Yggdrago pieces that they weren't able to really make use of. Though that could mean Yasi has extra pieces of Yggdrago in hand. If they had a boss monster, it probably would have been played onto the board. And even an Atron is able to clear through a lot of these monsters like Angler Coilfish and Surge Bolt Lizard. we see a Piercing Samurai. And we know it is going to be able to get in 4 damage. As we have mentioned, none of the Cyberse monsters have more than 100 defense. Lightning Trigger debuffs the Connector Dog. But given there are already 2 defense position monsters on the board, of course there is no position change. BB sets another back row, and is going to get in for 2,900 or 2,800 damage. We do see 1 Yggdrago piece, and show me another one from the Surge Bolt attack. No, it is the Atron. Presumably, Yassi's hand is 2 low-level monsters. Spell Trap cards would have been on the field, and boss monsters would have been summoned. So I'm expecting at least 1 copy of the left piece of Yggdrago to be in hand. But setting 3 is not going to be a great long-term game plan. Setting 2, possibly even worse. But you get the cards you are given. I don't think Yassi's plan was to hope to draw cards that aren't able to out the board. BB maintains a Piercing Samurai on board and has a second in the graveyard. Potentially a lethal push, and now much more likely to be a lethal push, thanks to the Doomed. Alright, there is the right piece of Yggdrago. We see a tribute summon for a Trigger Drago, and the 3rd Piercing Samurai. And this is actually something I disagree with. I think if you have the 3rd Piercing Samurai, and you want to... Well, okay. This is reasonable. Especially given... that they do have the Widespread Ruin. So, but here's what I would have said. If it had the 3rd Piercing Samurai, I would have actually tributed off the Trigger Drago for another Trigger Drago, and then ended on 2 Piercing Samurai and the Trigger Drago itself. That way, even if they manage to use a Recital to stop the 1st Piercing Samurai, you pierce for 1,200, and then get game with the Trigger Drago. My play would have gotten in for 1,200 damage. However, given that they also had the Widespread Ruin, my board would have been 2 Piercing Samurai rather than a Samurai and the Trigger Drago. So BB is in technically a bit of a better position right now. However, BB does have 6,000 life. So I think my play, guaranteeing the 1,200 damage, is worth it to push the game closer to the end. BB definitely wants to end the game before Yggdrago comes out. So I tried to listen to what Manneker said, and I didn't mention the play until after I had seen the cards come onto the board. Hopefully that is a more acceptable way to explain my thoughts. Alright, so we do see an Attitude Hydron. However, they don't have 8 in the graveyard. Only 7 Cyberse, leaving them unable to draw an additional card. They swing in for 2,800. And the Trigger Drago on board is already an out to this Attitude. However, if they do want to switch it over to defense mode, they are going to need to find another level 7. There are 8 cards left in the deck. We have seen 3 of the 6 bosses. So I'd say there are pretty good odds that they have drawn into one of the answers. And even if they didn't draw into another boss monster, there should be a Talismanic Seal Array or 2 hiding in the deck as well, giving BB 5 outs in 13 cards to push in really hard. Yassi may still have access to a Buffered Slime, keeping them alive for another turn. But other than that, things are looking pretty good for BB's position. Trigger Drago boosting up, and it is battle time. All 3 of these monsters are able to clear out the Attitude, and there is no trap activated. As long as the face-down card isn't a copy of the Guard, the game is probably over. And BB takes it first place with Thunder. I'll go ahead and send in the rest of the results. Notably, nobody changed even a single card going into this top cut, which is much more common than the other ways much more common than what happened last week. I'll go ahead and send this one, and I think that is it. Let me go post over here. And then Tomato, are you around? Alright, and Tomato Stores is around indeed. Alright, time to cut the music and go hop in a call. I need a second to set up my mic. Hello? Okay. So, how was your deck building this week?
It was a little awkward because I got first pick, so I got to take Rebels. And there are a couple of very good skills for Rebels, but all of them have a couple of weaknesses based on the card pool that we have at the moment. Obviously, Hell Tuning Evasion was just nerfed, and the Death Doom Requiem isn't as good without Doom Metal, as well as the fact that I don't know exactly what you're going to be on, and if you're playing like Yami Ruler, you can lock down your deck quite heavily, and if you're not on Yami Ruler, then I want to go like all in on the high levels. So like, it was a lot of second guessing myself. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I basically had to pick between Roman or Gakuto, and I feel like bringing Psychics is never going to be the right play. Until we get some more Psychics in Duel Links at least. So I am on Gakuto again, but my deck is different. And I will say, I'm pretty sure this deck is worse than what I brought last week. We've added a bunch of new cards into the card pool. But we'll see how it goes. I do have a couple of tricks in here that might help out with the Royal Rebel matchup. But I definitely think Rebels are the stronger deck overall. I do have the Yami Ruler, but assuming you are on just a basic Red Eyes Rebel or Heavy Drive list, the Growls will be able to just be summoned under the Delay Directive and kind of walk over the Yami Rulers. So I'm not entirely convinced this is going to go my way.
Well, it's good to say. It sounds like neither of us are confident, so...
Yeah, I was much more confident with my deck last week. Oh wait, Manica said they weren't able to hear you. I tried turning it up. Was that fixed? before we hop into the game, I should probably go ahead and check that things are working.
Yeah, it's probably a good shout.
So anyone in Twitch or YouTube, just let me know if you're... Okay. It is now working. All right, and just in case anybody doesn't know what is actually going on, every week, Tomato and I are going through the physical Rush Duel product releases and adding those to our card pool, similar to a progression series style of event. However, we are bound by the rules of Duel Links, so we have access to the skills, changing up what these cards actually do in the context of the meta. Additionally, we only have the 6,000 life points, but probably most importantly, we don't have access to cards that aren't released yet. Dark Revelation is a big one, but there are plenty of cards in Duel Links that we would like to use but can't yet, but also cards that are in the physical packs that we'd like to use but aren't in Duel Links. It's a really interesting cross-section between the two games, and I'm excited to see how it goes this week. Are you ready?
Yep, I am good to go.
Alright, good luck, and let's see how this goes.
Yes, good luck.
Alright, so
Okay.
we are
I still
up
don't know what
first.
skill you're going to be on.
Interesting. This is not a bad hand, I don't think. Oh, and that is always a good sign. Okay. Let's just start it off, nice and easy. With a Yami Ruler, the Dark Delayer. Also, Masaki, a new card. We actually did not have access to the 1500 last week. We'll throw down a face down and pass it over to you. See if you can deal with the delay directive.
I've got him and a back row to deal with. So how do we want to do this? I could do that. That doesn't work, does it? No. Okay. I think this should work. I'm just trying to think if there's a better way to do this. If I do that, I have those two, so I could do that. I think I'm overthinking this, really. So I think I'm just going to set one. Then I'm going to go ahead and tribute to summon out my Royal Rubbers Rocker. I'm going to go ahead and tribute that. And summon out our Growl. We can use its effect to weaken your monster. Set, and then go straight to battle and try and swing over.
Yeah, that is going to work. And just like I said, the Growl walks over the Yami Ruler. I probably could have put it in face down defense position, but that isn't nearly as fun. But what is looking pretty good to me is my current hand. So we are going to go ahead and summon the Currybot. But we aren't going to use the effect. I don't think we need it. Instead, I'm going to trade off Currybot for an incredibly powerful boss monster. The mighty Urashima the Hermit, introduced in Character Pack 1. And I have, of course, a new skill. Or rather, an old one. Semi-Ruler is not in the game, but Power of Determination will provide Urashima the Hermit with 2,800 attack points. But Urashima the Hermit is not the only new card added to my deck. We also have a brand new legend, Shield and Sword. This provides another 2,000 attack points to Urashima, while simultaneously reducing Growl to 0. I'll summon out a couple of additional monsters, and we will head into the battle phase. With this, as long as I'm able to clear over your defense position monster, this is game. but you might be able to stop me if this face down is what I think it is.
Hey,
Alright, so the
everyone's
babysitter
favorite
goat,
goat.
also a brand new addition. So I am forced to end my turn here.
That was a very scary turn that you just had. Is there... so now I'm a little bit worried about my life being so low. So now I don't really want to be leaving anything weak-ish on the field if I don't have to. If I recall, there shouldn't be anything to change defense mode to attack mode at the moment. So maybe I just leave the goat just kind of hanging out. I think for now, I'm going to summon out my Palace Gargoyle. I'm going to go ahead and activate its effect. We're going to discard the Karibot to increase its level. Then I can set and then tribute 2 monsters. And call upon the mighty Heavy Metal. We can then use Heavy Metal to pop a monster. Set a card in defense. Go to battle. And then... I think there's no real reason to attack into Urashima Warrior, so we'll just get him for the 38, and we'll just pass.
Alright, I was hoping I'd be able to pair the Urashima alongside a Yami Ruler, so that when you bring in the heavy metal, it would gain no attack points. But that did not quite work out for me. Instead, I think we are going to be summoning our own babysitter goat. And tribute it off for a Kime Ruler. This card is not quite able to defeat your Royal Rebels Heavy Metal. And unfortunately, I don't have the Dark Arts of Celerity to switch it over to defense mode. But I can bring in a Thunder the Thunder. And that'll give me the 300 attack points I need to clear. For my final card,
pretty good.
Masaki will be removing that pesky goat. Swing in with everything, and as long as it's not a second goat face down, this board should be looking pretty empty.
I'm sat here like second guessing whether or not like some of my cards are legal now.
Yeah, I don't know if Feral Imp does exist. I'm gonna go look that one up too.
Let me check. No, Hyperspeed Rush Road.
Oh,
so it was
really?
from the first set.
Wow. You would think they introduced all those 0 attack monsters with 1400 defense, but just said Feral Imp's good too. Similar to Gazelle.
How do we want to do this? So I could do that. Get rid of that, I guess. Is there a way I can try and lethal you? I think that might be a bit of a tall task. I could do that into that into that. That might be the best I'm going to get if I did. That'd be... Okay. Alright, I'm going to summon out Palace Gargoyle. Then I'm going to... I mean, do I even need to use Palace Gargoyle effect? Kinda. I don't think I need to, but I think I'm going to. So I like its effect. And I'm just going to discard a heavy metal. Then I'm going to tribute it off to summon out a growl. Activate its effect. And then I think the way to get the most amount of damage in is going to be to use it on Masaki, because that weakens it by 800, which put you down to... what's that? 700 attack. Whereas if I did it on Kime, he'd lose 16 and get down to 900 attack. So I think I do this. Then I tribute... I guess I should tribute this one because it's got worse attack. Oh, and defense, I suppose. So I can attribute 1, tribute 2, summon, activate the effect, pop the Thunder, go to battle, and then hope this connects.
Unfortunately for you, I have prepared another card, released in this set.
Oh,
and it actually belongs to Roa. I attributed off a babysitter goat last turn, allowing me to use King's Majesty, negating your attack.
I don't. Maybe there was a better play. I don't know if I could have played around that. Maybe I could have.
With the cards
I would have had to
on
not summon
field,
Growl.
Kime Ruler clears out the heavy metal, and Masaki clears Feral Imp. So I need just a 900 attack point monster to end the game. I summon out Babysitter Goat. And Power of Determination doesn't just work on Urashima. Any 0 attack monster is able to be boosted. I enter battle, trade with the heavy metal, attack with Masaki, and then finish off Roa with their own card.
Things did not go how I wanted them to.
I mean, the first turn seemed okay, but things went down a little bit after that.
If I didn't do the Growl play, I could have discarded the Growl instead, had an extra body out. I could have summoned out a second heavy metal, but it wouldn't have been lethal because it still would have left you with 200 life points. So maybe I could have survived the turn by having 225s, but I couldn't have just like killed you through that. So I think I'm okay with how that went.
Yeah, I mean, I think going for the lethal was the right play. Yami Ruler's on the limited 3 list, so the King's Majesty had to take one of those slots away. And you've attacked for like 2 or 3 turns without seeing anything activatable. So I think it was tough to make the Majesty read there. And going for lethal is a good play most of the time.
All right, let's see if I can bounce back a little bit. Oh, going second again.
Yeah, I also didn't see your skill last time, which is a little bit surprising. I'm expecting it to just be the heavy metal one, but I guess we never saw it. So I'm up first again. I think we will just go ahead and set a bunch of cards. I want to draw more next turn, so let's set here as well.
Okay, so we're expecting that to be a Sage, I suppose. This hand is... I mean, it's not bad. I shouldn't sit here and say this hand's bad. But it's not quite what I'm hoping for. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy you, except I don't have a tribute set. And then we'll just pass.
We were looking for a Kime Ruler there. Not quite that lucky. So I think we will flip over a few monsters, throw a card face down, and that's about it. Try to clear over the many 1400s you own, and hopefully find a 0 in the meantime. Pass it over.
Okay, let's see what we get. We have options, I suppose. How deep do we want to go into the tank right now? I think we always do this, right? So we're going to summon out the Gargoyle. Everyone loves the Gargoyle. We'll activate the Gargoyle's effect. We will go ahead and discard this Shout. Then I'm going to set another monster. And then go ahead and tribute to. And summon the Heavy Metal. We'll activate Heavy Metal's effect. And we'll go ahead and pop the Masaki. Then I think I'm just going to set this. And then go straight to battle. And we will attempt to attack over the Warrior for big damage. We'll pass.
All part of my plan here. I, of course, did want you to inflict the damage to keep my Urashima the Hermit safe. And that means it is time to activate our skill again. Power of Determination, buff Urashima, and we have the shield and sword.
Oh, this is the one thing I didn't want. I was like, as long as you don't have the shield and sword, it's
Ah.
fine. I was like, what are the chances that 2 games in a row?
But I mean, those defense mission monsters are pretty scary, and with a heavy metal coming out and absorbing anything, I think I need to just set the other 2 monsters. So we'll see how that goes for me. Let's enter the battle phase, get in for a ton, but you shouldn't be able to kill me this turn.
Well, I think you're probably right about that. Question is, what am I doing with the rest of this? All right, me. Quick read. So, it's gonna come down to, is it worth doing that? It's so close, but unfortunately, I don't think I can do what I want to do. So now it comes down to, are we going to bother using this? I think probably. All right, we will set a monster. Then I'll go ahead and tribute to summon out my Growl. Then I'm going to tribute again and get out a heavy metal. Then I'm going to set, go to battle, and swing into this lovely 0 attack monster, and then pass the turn.
My life points are looking pretty low. And last week you did bring a pretty threatening Pierce. But I don't think I have anything. We are setting a card and passing.
Ooh.
So if you've got
Alright,
Pierce,
well,
you've got it.
question is going to be, so if I flip this up, why, what have I misunderstood?
Oh.
Oh.
Are you on hell tuning?
Maybe. It needs to be exactly 2 now? I haven't really been testing hell tuning since the changes. I believe I need to have 2 fiend monsters to make this work, as in 2 low-level fiend monsters. Which I don't think I have a way to do. Which is very awkward. So with that in mind, is there anything I can actually do here? No, I don't think there is. Well, I don't want to leave that in attack mode, so we are going to go ahead and tribute off. We'll summon out everyone's favourite invasion. Then we'll set and go straight to battle, and we will just attempt to attack over some of these. Unfortunately, the new wording on Hell Tuning Invasion means I need to have 2 level 4 or lower fiend types, and my face-down monster was a spellcaster, which meant I couldn't flip your monsters up and just attack for game.
Huh. Do I have a way to do this? No, there's no way that's enough. But I mean, I guess I should do what I can. Let's bring in a mage.
Oh, actually, I think I did have a play.
Yeah,
I'm just
so
stupid.
if you tributed off the spellcaster and the heavy metal for the invasion, and normal summon another one, yeah.
Yeah, in my head I was like, well, I need the heavy metal. He's the one that's going to kill you.
Let's just debuff that as much as possible. Then go here. then I suppose I set a monster. Battle, and we get in for what we can.
Might as well use this.
I don't think it's enough. Okay. I feel like that's probably a 1400. We haven't seen any goats this game. So I will just pass it over.
Okay. So you have basically left a monster on the field that I could attack and kill you. So I can only assume your back row is going to be King's Majesty once again. But fortunately, I do have another boss monster. So I believe there shouldn't be anything you can have to stop this. So I'll go to battle and we'll swing.
And that is fine.
Oh, alright. At least I didn't get too owed. I can lose happy now. Especially since I had the line and completely whiffed it.
I mean, I guess I could have put stuff face down. I was just worried of the same thing happened. If I did set a monster, would you have been able to summon the 2 low levels that turn and just flip up whatever?
I could have, yes, but
Yeah.
I would still have needed to see that heavy metal off the top.
Oh, so you
So
top
wasn't,
decked it?
like, set in stone. Yes, top deck the heavy metal. You know, sometimes if you just really want it, the cards can just be manifested. Oh, we are going first this time though. That's a hand. That is a hand. We're having a Royal Rebel moment right now. Ah. I
Pass.
think I have to do this. I'm going to summon out Palace Gargoyle and activate its effect. And we're going to discard Invasion. Then I'm going to set and then really contemplate what I want to do with the rest of my hand. Part of me wants to just leave this board as is. But I really don't want to leave both these cards in my hand. So, I think, out of an abundance of caution, I'm going to Tribute 2 and summon this, and then just pray that you don't have your Urashima Sage Shield and Sword combo.
We do not. But we do have walking over this. I bring out a Curry Bot and a Mage. Mage effect, debuff. And then tribute off for a Yami Ruler.
Ah, but then you won't get to use Yami Ruler's effect, I guess.
That
Unless
is
you have a Nandes.
true.
Oh god, don't have a Nandes.
So I'm going to go ahead and summon a monster known as Nandes the Fire Awakener.
No!
And then I will use Yami Ruler the Dark Delayer. And then activate Nandes the Fire Awakener to switch it back into attack mode. For my final card, I choose the 1500 Vanilla, the strongest monster I can pair with this board. Enter battle and swing in with all 3.
Yeah, that's not ideal.
Go ahead.
Let's hope we draw some... Ooh, that's not bad. That could have been a lot worse. Alright, how do we navigate this? I could do that, but then that creates other problems. Could do that. Maybe that's the line. I have to get rid of that. Also means get rid of that. Like, I'd have to do that. Okay. I think there's only actually one play we can make. So, with that in mind, I summon Gargoyle. Then we're going to activate Gargoyle. And the discard is actually the annoying bit. I think I have to discard this heavy metal since it's not doing anything for me. Then we're going to tribute and summon out the Growl. We can then activate the Growl and weaken this Yami. then I really don't think I can afford to do anything else crazy. So we're just going to go straight to battle. We're just going to clear the Yami. And then pass.
I can theoretically draw lethal here.
I can't do anything about that when I brick in the open.
We did not, though. So you're surviving this turn. Maybe. Probably. Let's see. How do I want to do this? I think we go for Currybot. Bring in Yami Ruler again. And then we activate the effect, switch it back to attack mode with Nondes as normal. And then we Hermit. So even if you were able to summon a heavy metal, it wouldn't be doing much of anything. Throw down a face down card, Power Determination, buffs the Urashima up to 2800, which is more than Yami Ruler. So I get in for a little bit more damage. And we get to clear one of those face downs as well. Let's see if you get another growl. Oh, thank you for the follow, Tsubasa.
Unfortunately, this hand leaves a lot to be desired. So we just have to hope that you don't draw into Kime Ruler.
Alright, so, I did not draw into Kime Ruler, but I did keep a card in my hand last turn. I know you're running Phantom Bind, so instead of tributing off that Yami Ruler, just in case, I'll go ahead and tribute off Thunder the Thunder, who is not a warrior. But now that I think about it, I also have Urashima Warrior to make sure you can't activate anything at all. Return in Urashima the Hermit. Effect on Kime Ruler. And that is the match.
Yeah, we did have the Phantom Bind face down, but even if you had tributed your Yami Ruler, it wouldn't have mattered. There wasn't enough in there.
I didn't check.
That was a... I mean, I'm happy that we at least won one game. I think that... So for first things first, I completely overlooked Shield and Sword. I missed that completely, that we had access to that. So when you brought that out, that was a big shock for me. Second, I feel like the deck choice was pretty good. I think I took Hell Tuning Invasion specifically because I wanted a way to get you if you were playing defensively. But I think you only actually ended up playing defensively like during one of those 3 games. Obviously, game 3 was a brick game. You know, that was a non-game. I didn't really get to play in game 3. Game 1, I think, was potentially winnable. I think I did misplay a little bit, but I think it's an easy misplay with the power of hindsight. I don't think at the time it necessarily was. So that's kind of all I got to say with that. I think this was quite a good week, actually. I think it was a lot better than last week.
Yeah, I think this was probably the best of the 3 as well. I will go double check that I wasn't just lying with Shield and Sword the same way you did with...
I don't know. I did look at that during the game. It definitely was in there.
Oh, okay.
I think because I use rushcard.io, which has all the pictures, and either my brain just filtered it out, like I saw it and my brain just went, no, that card doesn't exist, or it's just, the image just wasn't on there. One of those 2 things happened. I just completely missed that it was there.
I think I did that back like a year or 2 ago. I was doing something where I needed to know what was in the early sets, and I learned rushcard.io did not include all of the images. So I just go to the Yugapedia sets, and that also has the benefit of letting me find the intermediate cards. For example, I almost brought Volcano Attack Dragon this week. As that was a card released in between KPO2 and the character pack. I might be doing that next week, though I do need to look at what is actually in KPO3.
Yes. It's a weird set, especially because its name is Illusion Strike Mirage Impact, and it is named that because it has Illusion Strike Dragon Mirageus in it. But we don't have that in Duel Links, so we don't have like the main monster of the set.
I know we are getting a new set soon-ish, but they're actually skipping Miragias for Steel Strike, if I remember correctly. Oh,
Yeah,
Gazelle's
which is
KP3.
really exciting. I do really like that.
I thought Gazelle was
Ooh,
KPO1.
is I couldn't tell you.
Yeah. I'm just
I'd
looking
have
at
to
the
go and have
list
a look.
now. We get some right across support. I know you're a big fan. CF releases
Ooh.
KPO3. Oh, Ancient Arise. That might be my pick.
Ooh, Ancient Rise is pretty good.
We've also got Aquas, I think, are playable now. Seahorse Carrier is introduced. And I think Mimi only has the one boss monster in Duel Links. So as long as, like, we're not randomly missing the 1400, Disco Fever should be pretty playable. Like, all the cards we have should be out now. Extra Spice.
Ooh,
We're just getting the real decks
wait, it's
now.
extra spice in here.
Yeah. Like,
I
we
mean,
could
you
just...
know I like my noodles.
Yeah.
I might have to bring noodles.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're not gonna have Fire Yarrow or Taste Inspector, so you're gonna be bringing Stock and Tang, but noodles are playable.
Wait, do we have both of them?
Uh,
Do we have both stock and tang? That was the question.
Stock is KP3 and Tang I think is KP1.
It's KP1. Okay,
I
okay.
think. I'll double check.
There are options. Okay, it might not be good, but we have options.
Yeah, like these are starting to get closer to actual decks. So we'll do Noodles and Dragons next time, it sounds like. And we'll see how we butcher them to conform to the card limits currently in place. I am
very
looking
interesting.
forward to it.
Well, especially because after this set, I think things are going to slow down a little bit. We've got the maximum set, which has a bunch of stuff in it that we haven't got access to, and then I think things are going to drastically slow down.
I mean, the maximum set at least
So
is
we'll
going
have
to
to see what
have Yggdrago and Overlord. So we'll probably end up doing that, right?
You'll have to work out who's doing what, because I think one of those is a little bit better than the other, but they're both still good.
I mean, I guess Overlord is missing, like, Dark Magician Girl, but it probably has most of the other pieces, huh? Like, Seven's Road is going to be here. All the random low levels, like Mage. That is a good point. We are going to have to look at that. See what is going on. Oh, and Cybers isn't going to have After Shoot or anything, huh? Cybers might not be playable.
Cybers might be in a bit of a weird spot.
Yeah.
I mean, it might be playable with, like, one of the skills, like maybe the new one, which doesn't have as tight a restriction on how many Cybers you can run, but... But then, like, I don't know. I don't know if it... Cause I don't think we could play... I don't think we have access to Bespectacle Man either.
Oh. That just leaves them with no bosses. So maybe we won't be running a maximum deck.
You know what else comes in, though? Beast Gear Trike Fox.
The most
And
powerful
Convoy
of all
Leogun.
Limit 3 cards.
This must be Limit 3 for a reason, just nobody knows what that reason is.
Like, what were they doing? I wonder. And, like, it's that and Call the Earthbound. Like, they must be doing some form of internal testing that made them think, like, these cards are too good. But I cannot
There's one
imagine what it
intern at
was.
Konami that's just built the most disgusting Beast Gear deck of all time. And he's, like, terrorizing the office.
He has the secret list that we have not been able to figure out yet. They're like, what? How is Beast... We intentionally withheld the field spell because it's too powerful. Like, how come nobody's running this on the ladder? Where was it? We were ready for Beast Gear to win the Rush Festival, and nobody's using it. They don't know the secret list.
I still do not know where Beast Gear World is. At what point do they just not even bother releasing it because it's so late it won't do anything?
I mean, I really want to see, I want, like, a field spell pack. Just give us, like, Umi, Beast Gear World, Following World, Mountain would...
Big Ocean.
Like, I think Mountain could
Outer
see
Space.
play. Would they limit
Yeah.
3 Mountain? I mean, Shining City Knights is on the list. They're too afraid.
It has to be. You
Of
can't have one
mounted.
on there and not the other, right?
Um,
I think Konami loves and hates dragons. They love them so much, they keep wanting to give them so much support, but they hate them because they know that they're going to be too strong if left at full power.
I agree. I wonder how many limit 3s they're going to do. Like, I don't think you can run Dragius with the other Gios dragons and be a fair deck. So they're all going to be 3.
Yeah. It's very strange because I think we're going to have a similar thing with Mirror Innovator when it comes out. I think we're not going to take Ace Breaker off limit 3, and I can't see Mirror Innovator not being limit 3. So it's going to be like Mirror Innovator plus Tough Striker and just try and call that a deck.
Yeah, but the Mirror Innovator also doesn't trigger the skill. Did we have a leak for it? Like a new skill for
No,
machines?
we have no skill. I think it's literally going to be like, I don't even know. Like you play like Hammer Crush Deal or something and just try and wing it.
I mean, okay. Machine Hammer Crush, like, we already have Thunder aggro, Dragon aggro, Beast aggro. Just running the 1500 and 1400 machine to fuel Big Pierce guy is going to be fine. Like, Hammer Crush Deal will work with Mirror Innovator.
I guess you could also use Legend Draw because we do have Barrel Dragon, who is a machine. So there's maybe something there.
I do wonder if you'd run the low level, though. Because I'm thinking, like, 3 Dragius, 2 to 3 Mirror Innovator, and the Barrel Dragon is kind of a lot of tributes.
Yeah, but if Mirror Innovator is limit 3, you won't be able to play it with Dragius anyway. It would have to be like
point.
replacing Dragius, which would be weird.
I don't know. Maybe there's a chance it's not limited. Like, they let us run Trigger Drago. That's basically the same card.
Yeah, basically.
Give or take 1200 attack and actually being able to pierce.
Right. That's in the details though, right? We don't have to worry about that. They're basically the same.
Minor inconvenience. I mean, Mirror Innovator's 2400, and Trigger Drago's 25. So, which one's really the better card?
That's a good point. And they both do have the same battle trap that nobody would play anyway.
For sure. I actually like the machine battle trap. Well, not the one that's currently out. If they have, do they have like a minus 500 one? I don't remember. But like the one that like changes to defense mode is pretty good.
The Thunder one, I think, is Machine or Thunder.
Salary Slash and Battle Demotion. Those ones are good.
Yeah, Battle Demotion's crazy.
Do you think? I wonder if we will end up getting it or not. I guess not. Like, they didn't bring it with the other stuff.
So.
We got, like, the Shine, but I guess we didn't get, like, the... whatever the CEO's name was.
Yes. I would imagine we'd probably get him after the Asana box, just because that's when, like, he showed up during the anime.
Do you think Kaizo will be a playable character? Probably not.
Oh, I hope so.
Right?
I'm still sat here like, where's my Seat Bastion? Just give me Seat Bastion. We need more inanimate object robot characters. I'm just saying. That's what Duel Links is currently lacking.
I agree. They should just do September, you know, they're not going to add Go West World. They're just adding purely robot characters. We get Kaizo, Seat Bastion for 7s, that dueling monkey from DM and the other one from GX. We get the Robo Monkeys. I feel like 5Ds has to have.
The robot that Kaiba duels against when he's testing his Obelisk the Tormentor.
Perfect. That can be in DM or Darkside as well. Because I think he does like a simulated duel in Darkside as well. And then for Zexal, they'll add the security duel puzzle that the Lucky 7 guy breaks through. That is a really good security system. You know, our vault can only be robbed if you're good at Yu-Gi-Oh. It's totally fine. As long as you're able to win the duel, you can have the artifact.
Makes sense, makes sense.
But yeah, thank you for the duels. And I will see you next week. Any closing thoughts?
Well, I'll say GG. You're going to have to teach me your card game at some point, but I don't have Tabletop Simulator. And I hopefully will win next week.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I mean, the noodles can definitely do some pretty wild stuff. And I will try to figure out a way to get this card game playable without Tabletop Sim. I tried looking into a couple of things. It has been suboptimal so far, but I am going to keep on researching that because I do want to try it out with more people other than just like my little proxy decks I have to play with myself. But yeah, we will figure that out in the weeks ahead. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me. Goodbye.
That was a pretty fun week. I think that was definitely the best of our 3 series so far. Welcome, Tsubasa. Man, I think anything with 1200 or more defense does work in Servant of Dawn. So it should be, fine. I'm pretty sure Mirror Innovator has, like, 16. Oh, you know, Tomato, if you're still in the chat, I do wonder if, Ancient Forces versus Noodles is going to be balanced. I'm just, like, going through it in my head. And Ancient Arise Dragon being able to destroy either of the Noodle bosses could be a problem. But, I mean, I guess I could just get OTK'd, too. There isn't a ton of piercing. So how does the Ancient Arise Dragon deck beat just setting 3 and passing? Until it is time to OTK with, like, 2 or 3 Roastery. Assuming Roastery even exists. I guess we will find out. Oh, also I can go ahead and put on the music. Oh, that's gonna be loud. I apologize for anyone's eardrums who I just blew out. I always forget I need to lower the volume. Okay. This is looking pretty good. And then we just bring in a spice and we go for the noodly plays. We can go for the +1, but we actually don't have a reason to. Also, why are there 10 cards in the graveyard? There was a lot of deep drawing. But unfortunately for them, that is only going to buff Spice even more. Starting the game with 3 normal monsters in the graveyard is providing you with 900 times 3 extra attack. So we will go in and finish the game on turn number 3. Beyond Curiosity, probably not a great matchup into the Noodles. But I also did get a pretty lucky start. I can't deny that. Oh, Paco is true. I do get access to Twin Edge. Twin Edge is in the starter deck, so I can go for that. I will have to spend some time trying to, oh, I can switch the stream title. I totally forgot to mention it for the other part. By the way, if anyone wants to join the room, I'll go ahead and set that up. We will do a few battles in here, and I think I'm going to go ahead, and try, to hit gold 5 today. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do for the gold 5 to King of Games rank up, challenge, but I'll spend a little bit of time thinking about it before the next stream. Alright, this hand is significantly worse. As long as we draw 3 normal monsters, we do actually get out a double spice board on the next turn. Oh, not point battle. Duel room. They are probably on particle acceleration, but I do want to save the widespread for a future turn. The 1500 damage is fine. I'm more concerned about a big Attitude Hydron coming in and beating me up. Alright, we did draw into 2 low levels, but neither of these are quite good enough. But this is another reason why we needed the widespread to stay on board. If they only bring in a single boss monster on the next turn, we are actually in an okay spot. As we can use the trap as protection for our boss. Let's go ahead and take out the reset runner. And see what happens. So Paco, here is my list currently. It's a real mishmash, running both the, or wait, are you talking about, Noodles or Ancient Forces? Alright, we don't have piercing damage, but we do have access to extra spice, which is another way to push in for damage. I take the skill, and we actually have access to a card here this time. Let's grab Flame Inspector and start burning. Alright, Fire Yarrow, not bad. Now, I am obviously a little bit concerned about a Sword and Shield ending the game. So we are going to just switch the spice over into defense mode for now. Battle, take out the one that could be a card drawer. Keep in mind, as long as I keep one of their Dark Femtrons on the board, they aren't going to be able to use, cards like Atron. Though the Peacock, the 1-2-8 monster would be live here. I mean, I am worried about the maximum summon, but there's nothing I can really do about that. Alright, they summon out a copy of Sunglasses. They activate Far Cry 4, providing a 600 debuff. So Bespectacle sounds somewhat like Bespectacle, which is a pair of glasses. And that should be game. Change to attack mode. We have access to all 3 of our spices. So let's go ahead and add Fire Yard to the hand and boost up as much as we can. And swing in for 6,700. Alright, thank you for the game, Tsubasa. I'll see if anyone else has joined the room or not. Doesn't look like it. So we are going to call it on the room, and we'll see if we can take the noodles up a little bit in the ranks. Oh, though I suppose I should probably do the auto duels real quick. I want to make sure I don't actually get the gems from playing too much with a specific character. But a couple of quick auto duels can get me those event points for whenever I decide I do want to grind out Dennis. I'm kind of not expecting it to be a particularly powerful deck, so I probably won't be spending the gems on it. Going to go ahead and save them for whatever rush box comes out soon. But if Prefer Mage ends up being a tiered strategy, I might end up going in for it. I do have plenty of gems hiding over in DM World, etc. And one more should be good. Oh, and I will change the Twitch stream title again. Rush Duel Ladder Climb. Okay. And it says that there's only 2 non-cyber dragons that have enough defense to go in the Servant of Dawns, so you could play Machine with Innovator. If you get one of them in the box, have a new version of the deck. Yeah, so if you're not running Dragius, you could put Mirror Innovator in the Dinosaur build, I guess, but you're saying it'd be a new variant entirely. I'm not sure how well that would work, though. Servant of Dawn does cut you off from the 1500 and 1400 vanilla, as they aren't going to have enough defense points. So I'm not sure you'd have good low-level machine monsters to actually shuffle back with the Mirror Innovator. That's probably my main concern. Oh, maybe that's what you meant, though. When you say 2 non-cyber dragons, are you referring to like that stuff? Like a monster you can actually shuffle back in that isn't Mirror Innovator. I guess I will just go look at it myself. Let's open up Duel Links meta and see what we're looking at. We are up first. Unfortunately, we didn't draw into a goat, so summoning the spice is a little bit risky. Though it is a better defense, I suppose, because I am going to grab the Fire Yarrow back and then throw it face down again, and this at least forces them to have something. An 800 debuff, though, 5, 6, 7, 8 is 1400, so even a 1500 beater on that would clear. So maybe this is actually the right play. We are running a fair amount of tribute monsters, but we do have the ability to recycle. So I'm going to go ahead and pass. Alright, we see a dealer. And let's find out if they are on Axel Road or Magnum. Magical Stream, probably going to destroy the Roastery. Okay. And they do have the Torna, which is a bit of a concern. as that does mean the Noodle Art probably is a little bit stronger as a turn 1 play. I mean, they still would have cleared the board. Actually, yeah, they would have cleared the board and done a little bit more damage. I think. No, it would have been less damage, for sure. Okay. That is a ton of tribute fodder. Definitely can get rid of these babysitter goats. Bring in the Seahorse Carrier. But we are going to be returning Fire Yarrow with a skill. So we actually don't even need to use the Seahorse Carrier here. And that's kind of why Flame Cerebrus, if it was the 3rd extra spice, we'd be in a better position. Because we would have had an extra monster to work with. And the burn and draw would have been nice. But that is fine. This playing the Cerebrus does mean we don't just lose to a shield and sword on the next turn. Oh, and there's the extra spice right at the top of the deck. Alright, let's clear here and get in for as much as we can. I'm using the attacks in this order to earn the over 3,000 damage bonus at the end of duel assessment. There isn't actually anything worth getting from that, but I figured I might as well do it anyway. Let's see what they do. Shield and sword, obviously a pretty strong play. But other than that, we should be relatively safe. We even have Babysitter Goat in the graveyard, backed up by a King's Majesty they weren't able to hit with their previous magical stream. I don't think they're going to have a second one. Valkyria comes down, 7 XL Road, boosting it up to 2,400. That is only going to be able to clear 1 spice. I'll go ahead and use the Majesty and just try to draw into another boss next turn. Theoretically, I could have not used the Majesty here, but we know they are running Magical Stream, and I don't want them to draw into another one. So, it is our move. Let's see what we draw. Alright, we get another Spicy Elite Noodle Ninja, and we are good to go. Kobold is going to build a 1-card deeper draw. Flavor Inspector is fine with me. Let's bring in Spice. Obviously, we don't actually need to add anything to our hand, but we are going to go ahead and do the boost with Noodle Art Reboot. Activate the effect, and then also Roastery. We probably could have played around a Widespread Ruin, but it would have only been a 100-point difference. So, not a big deal. Battle Phase, swing in with you. The set card could be a Shield and Sword. But it could also be the Widespread Ruin. Alright, it is Widespread, unfortunately. I don't know why they were holding it. But not attacking was... I don't know. Alright, Recovery Force is going to get them a cycle, but it is not a +1. As they were not able to they weren't able to set it on a previous turn. Alright, we've gone through 2 of our spices, 1 extra spice, and a Cerebrus. That means we only have 1 of each of our level 7s left in the deck. Well, it's a level 7 and a level 8. Someone's Axel Road could be killing me here. So the Widespread Ruin is a little bit concerning. And we had just 1 more normal monster in the graveyard. We actually would have been able to get in for lethal. Because it would have been a 600 total. It would have been 200 boost times 2. Right, that is looking pretty threatening to me. I'm not sure if it is lethal, but it is definitely close. Alright, I don't think it is. We get 500 life points, and all we need to do is draw a tribute monster. We get an Old Spice. And that'll be it. No need to drag out the game. So now it's Spice, and they concede. Perfect. go into the next game, and we have a chance to rank up to Gold 4. I don't think we're going to get all the way to King of Games, and I am actually getting a little bit tired. So, we'll probably go to Gold 4 and call it a day. If we lose, we'll keep playing a little bit longer to try to get the rank up. But we'll see how it goes. Up against a Gavin deck. Probably going to be an archive skill, as expected. But that does not narrow it down very much at all. Thunders, Noodles, Servant of Dawn, etc. Plenty of options here. Right, they open up with an Essel, and they are confirmed to be on Thunders. That is probably not a great matchup for us. I'm looking at all of those zero defense bosses. They aren't able to use Stormbolt. But it's not like we are pushing over that if they have the widespread. Well, there is only one way to find out. Let's go ahead, summon out Old Spice, activate the effect of Noodle Art Reboot, recycle that Taste Inspector, and hope they don't have the trap. Wait a second. We only have 2 normal monsters in the graveyard. Oh, but the skill does it for us. Okay. I was about to be concerned we weren't going to be able to even get to 2400 to clear. But we do it just fine. It's a little bit early for a Roastery. So let's just set it and swing. We are at 3000, which is just enough to deal with a potential Thunder Spark. Which is nice. There were 4 normal monsters in the graveyard, which would have been 400, 800, 1200 damage, but that wasn't lethal. So, oh, Tomato says I should have kept a card in hand, but I will simply not do that. Obviously, I do have a bunch of zero defense monsters on board, but I would rather not brick. I am at a huge life point lead, and the plan was to kill them next turn with the Roastery. Unfortunately, they did have the Trailblazing. But also, this makes them actually draw into a Trigger Drago, which they simply are not going to do. I think in 90% of the cases, playing a round Trigger Drago is suboptimal. Obviously, it didn't work out this time, as that Roastery could be a game ender in the future. But I would much rather not brick on it. I'm obviously alive. I was at 6,000. Let's see what we get. A bunch of goats. Interesting. I will go ahead and see what we draw. Alright, we do get one of those. And we have a normal monster. Okay. Seahorse Carrier, activate the effect. This time, I think it is going to be worth playing around the, well, we might actually just kill them. 1,000 burn is a pretty significant amount. We draw into a Roastery as well. Let's go ahead and reboot. Select and add to hand. Just a little bit of extra insurance. Fire Yarrow, set monster, Roastery, and that should be it. I'm pretty sure they didn't have anything last turn, so they shouldn't have anything this turn either. 2,000 damage is more than enough to finish this game. And that was a clean Gold 4 run. I think we are going to go ahead and call it a day here. Thank you to everyone who watched the stream, whether you've been here since the beginning or joined later on. I hope you all have a good night. actually, before we head out, I guess I should check if anyone else is streaming Rush. For a potential Twitch raid. It is pretty rare, but you never know. As expected, nobody else is Russian. So, thank you all for